Hello and welcome to the first episode of My Lumbar Log. My name is Brian and I am 9 days out from having a PLIF, Posterior Lumbar Interbody Fusion of L5 to S1. And I'm doing a video log series as I go through this process because I've seen some others that have done this, and it was helpful to me to kind of see what the process would be like with this surgery. But the ones that I've seen are several years old, and the technology changes, and everybody's situation is a little bit different. So I thought I would do it too, to kind of give back to the folks that helped me as well. I have had a long history of back issues, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a upcoming segment of this video. But suffice it to say, I'm already fused from L1 to L5, and this fusion will be L5 to S1 to kind of complete the lower portion of my back. The surgery is 9 days away, on December 7th, assuming everything goes forward with the COVID protocols that are in place. And as you might imagine, I'm in a pretty fair amount of pain, and so not all of these videos will be in my little mini studio that I have for other purposes, but I'll try to kind of take you along on the process to see what this is all like. I'm going to start off with handing it off to an excerpt from a video that I did for my friends and family, kind of describing the surgery itself, and then I'll wrap it up and afterwards and come back and tell you a little bit more about my specific situation. Well, I've had back issues for most of my life, and had surgery when I was an early teenager, and then again in 1998. And the result of those two surgeries is that I'm fused from L1 to L5, which is the whole kind of small of your back, the whole lower portion of your back. That was the second surgery was really major, but it was in 1998, and so I've gone 22 years with living a fairly normal life, and had some limitations and some flare-ups from here and there, but a lot of people I know didn't even realize that I had these kind of issues. I certainly didn't advertise it. And earlier this year, I started feeling some changes, some situations that I could normally kind of weave my way through and get myself feeling a little better. That just wasn't working as well. And by late August, over the course of about a week, it really went downhill fast. And so started seeking medical attention for that. Went out on disability from work on September 1st, and went through a little bit of doctoring to end up with the right specialty, which turned out to be orthopedic surgeon rather than neurosurgeon, and with my MRI results and the ability to get with Dr. Rafe Sales, who is considered probably the preeminent spine person in the Pacific Northwest, we've decided to go forward with this surgery. It'll be a little different with me because it's attaching to a previous fusion. And so it's going to be a slightly more difficult surgery than is typical, take a little bit longer, but the prognosis is really, really good. Hope to be back at work about a month or so, about 4 or 5 weeks after surgery. So that video does a pretty good job of doing a basic overview of the surgery and what my situation is up till now. For the purposes of the lumbar log, I want to tell you a little bit more about my background. I started having issues in the early 80s when I was in middle school. And after a lot of doctoring here in the Portland area, eventually ended up at the Mayo Clinic, where I had my first lumbar fusion. That was in the early 80s, and the technology was much different. I was in a body cast for 6 months and really laid up for a year after the surgery. They never totally understood what the growths were that were on my spine, but essentially I had growths that were devouring the bone of the spine. After the recovery from the surgery, I was much better and raring to go, and kind of got back into life and work and family and things. And then in the mid 90s, the flare ups happened much more frequently, and the pain level grew, and it turned out that I had more of the growths on my spine in the areas around the original fusion. So in 1998, had a second spinal fusion surgery here in Portland, where they essentially kind of ripped out what they had done before, and created a new fusion that was all the way from L1 to L5. That was an extremely long surgery. Again, period in a body cast and things, but about a 6 month recovery from that one. So certainly better than the one 10 years before. But coming out of that surgery, the the thought process was that it was probably about 20 years that I would be functional, and there was a pretty strong thought that I might end up in a wheelchair after that period of time. Up until the summer of this year, I was leading a pretty normal life where a lot of people around me didn't even realize that I had these back issues. My pain level was certainly higher than a normal person, but also my pain tolerance is very high. So I was able to be pretty functional. And then over the course of about 3 weeks or so later this summer, it really, the pain level really elevated, and it was clear that it was something internal that was going on. Not just what I call the surface pain. The core pain had really increased, and the radiating pain down my legs, the numbness, the numb feet, things like that really took hold. And so that's when I kind of ceased to function. Went out on medical leave on September 1st and started the process towards what ultimately is going to be this surgery in 9 days now. So in the next episode, which will be tomorrow, I'll talk a little bit about how I got to the point of doing this surgery, and also how COVID is impacting the surgery itself. Not everything is going to be the way that I thought it was when I recorded that video you saw an excerpt from just a week or so ago, a week and a half. So that episode will come out tomorrow. On Monday I have the pre-op nurse visit, and so I'll do a quick episode on that day as well. Probably have a few episodes as we're leading into surgery day, which is a week from Monday, and kind of keep you up to date as the process goes along. The episodes will definitely get shorter and probably not as produced as these first few will be. Some of them may just be shot on my phone and in bed and things, but I'll try to keep you up to date on how things are going. So thank you for joining me. You can follow along here on YouTube. I have a custom email for this that will show up on the screen here, and I'll also host the written portions of what I'm talking about and on my website, which is called Love the Float, which we'll talk a little bit more about how floating has been a real game changer for me, and it might help for others that are going through back issues as well in a future episode. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again tomorrow.